Hello and welcome to Positive Talk. We are in March, the month that is dubbed as Women's Month. And from the 8th of March, the world was commemorating International Women's Day. And Safades is Positive Talk, Mighty Movies, CBC. We are celebrating women. We celebrate women every day. And today, as we kick off celebrating women, we are celebrating one of Zimbabwean icons when it comes to conquering, beating HIV, beating AIDS. Her name is Tendai Kateketa Westerhoff. She's not new on Positive Talk, and I would say I'm privileged to be one of the people that she disclosed to first when it was not easy to come out with your status. Her being a public figure, it wasn't easy, but she had the courage. So today she's going to be telling us her story. Yes, we are running under the theme Pressing for Progress. And as we are pressing for progress, we are talking about ending AIDS by 2030. Tendai, welcome to Positive Talk.
Thank you so much, Tariro. And I just want to say Happy Women's Day to everyone at Safeds, to every Zimbabwean woman out there, especially the women in the rural areas who never get a chance even to watch TV or to see us. So I say Happy International Women's Day to everybody and to myself as well. And my 4 daughters,
yes,
because they are now women. Thank you.
Yes, we want you today, as we celebrate your life, we're also celebrating the life of every woman who lives with HIV. Could you share with us your journey of how you did beat HIV?
Yes, it was a long and difficult journey, but at the end of the day, I took it upon myself, to conquer. And I went through a very rough time, which had ups and downs, because when you are coming from high society, you discover you are HIV positive and you don't know anything about HIV. It just becomes a life-changing experience. So from the time I discovered that I was HIV positive, yes, I also had to deal with issues of denial, because I looked healthy, I was not sick, and I didn't understand what it was to be HIV positive. But I had to confide in people, my mother, my brothers, and you were one of those people that I met during that time. I remember we were working for this feminine organization where you were in media,
yes,
and that was the first time I met you. And I called you aside, I said, Tariro, I have something. Do you know I'm HIV positive? I just said it like that, and you looked at me, and you said, no, but you want you to come and do a grooming course to this, to us, because during those days I was running my modeling agency, working with beautiful young men and women. Some of them are doctors today, some of them are lawyers, some of them are business executive, and that came around that I was HIV positive. So when I thought about it, it was even so difficult. At night I would cry. I'm also normal. Yes, people see the strong Tendai walking tall, but I also had moments that I cried, because I was so uncertain of the future. I thought, this HIV, does it mean that I'm going to die next week, or I'll just, die suddenly? And then, but I had to make a decision to say, okay, this is the way I am. I'm going to learn about this HIV, whatever it's called, AIDS. In fact, those days, people, you never used to call it HIV.
Yeah,
they used to call it AIDS.
Yes.
So I thought I had AIDS. So I started to do my own research. And this is how I started to know about organizations like Safeds. I went on the internet, I Googled, and I even went to their office to look for books about HIV and AIDS. And I would just disclose to anyone there before I made the public disclosure.
Was it panic that was making you disclose to anybody and everybody?
Yes, I was also in a panic mood. People don't know that. I was mourning that this is the condition that I am now into. And I'd seen those degrading pictures of skeletons and that red kind of skeleton that they put written danger. HIV. Yes. So I was also scared to say, well, so what does this mean? I'm going to die? What of my children and my family? So my mother is going to lose a daughter. So I was in a state of panic, and I didn't know where to turn to, and I was mourning my condition.
Is that the same time that you were pregnant? Because then I remember you then had a baby after you got to know about your status, and it's one issue that a lot of mothers actually do struggle with. So
Yes.
if you could also touch on that and elaborate for us. Is it the same time? Now I'm trying to jog my memory.
Exactly. Things just happened fast. When I tested positive, I had not planned to also fall pregnant. And because I also lacked the information during those days, I just found myself also pregnant. That was later on. But I said I could not get rid of my my pregnancy. What for? This is what actually motivated me to really go out there to learn about HIV so that I would get empowered. And I'm glad to say from the time I started talking to people, I came in contact with organizations like SAFEDS, where I actually met professionals who knew how to handle a person who was in a panic mode, like myself. I remember I came there, I would sit in one of the offices for very long, for a very long period of time, talking, and ndichitobvunza kuti naimi saka zveroti HIV yacho ichabuda nepaskin pangu here. Surely I was just ignorant like anyone else, and I went through counseling. This is when I started to know that, well, even if you fall pregnant, a mother had an opportunity to also prevent a child from infection and also to give birth to a healthy child. And with the way HIV has been evolving, the mothers today are even more privileged than us during those times. And I took it upon myself. I dealt with the anger, I dealt with the bitterness, but it was a process.
Yes.
You cannot just conquer anger in an overnight. It's a process. Certain things had to happen, and for me that was a normal thing that was happening to me. Though but perception out there, people want you to behave in a certain way. So I learned about treatment, and I'm glad during those days I'm one of those people who was put on treatment, but I was buying it from my pocket, and at that time I think it was costing something like 280,000 when we still had our own money, the real money, the Zimbabwean money. It wasn't easy, but I managed, and when I started to learn more about the disease, whenever I visited the healthcare, especially during the time I was pregnant, I disclosed to my doctor, and they took every step. They counseled me and empowered me on every step that I would take to ensure that I stayed healthy. Yeah.
And with the tablets, when you started, I remember those days people used to complain about a lot of side effects. Did you go through all that? Today we are saying we are celebrating you, because when I'm looking at you now, there is no sign. But I still want to know about that journey that you walked.
I also experienced serious side effects. I came from a modeling background without even trying to praise myself. I had a lovely figure, a ravishing figure. And when I would put on my sports attire in the morning in Mount Pleasant, where I used to go and where I used to stay, I would go jogging. People would turn their heads to see me jogging. I had the most beautiful legs, and I always called myself, my legs looked like those of Tina Turner.
Okay, Tina Turner.
Yes.
We will continue.
Now
we will continue
Okay.
after the break. Well, that's Tendai's story. She's sharing that with us as we are celebrating women. We are celebrating International Women's Day. We are celebrating March being Women's Month. Join us as we continue hearing from Tina Turner. That's your new name now. Welcome back as we continue with our program. We have Tendai Westerhoff, who is sharing with us her journey of how she has managed to beat HIV. She's managed to beat even AIDS. And before the break, Tendai, you were sharing with us how ARVs, your body, the impact that they had, or didn't they? You can continue.
I felt very serious side effects of art. To start with, my whole body was deformed. I looked like I was 9 months pregnant, and I had to adjust my clothes to put on kind of clothes that were fuller to conceal the big tummy. It's like I was almost 7 months pregnant. And even my face, my cheekbones, everything was distorted. But because I know how to take care of my body, sometimes I would conceal with makeup, you know. Even my legs, they became very, very thin. And that jogging that I used to talk about, the exercising that I used to do, I had to stop because my legs became too weak. You know, I could not run. They were thin. Even when I tried to wear shorts, they looked so thin, and everyone would just look at me because I disclosed to say that is AIDS, you know. But anyway, I continued to visit the clinic where I was taking my HIV, where I was taking my HIV treatment, explaining to them. And at those times, you know, there was not much choice because the only drugs that we had at those times was the stavudine, and then of course other treatment like Combiva, you know, they were very expensive, you know, and they were also very strong drugs. So I was on that stavudine, but you know, the health personnel, those in the medical profession, they started to do a research on the side effects of stavudine. And I'm glad to say even internationally activists started to take up the challenges that stavudine was actually causing on people living with HIV, and eventually it was phased out. So when that was phased out, I was now given new drugs that are much friendly to myself, you know, to my body, and I started to adjust. Today, I can say I can now wear my high-heeled shoes. At that time, I couldn't, you know, because my legs were too thin, you know, and they were weak. I could not walk in shoes like this. But over the time, when they changed my treatment to give me treatment which was much more user-friendly, my body adapted. And I also started to complement that with good exercise so that I kept in shape. And I know my body. I know the right clothes to conceal all those features that may not make me look nice. And today here I am. So I'm saying to people out there, don't be discouraged about treatment. Treatment works. It's the life-saving drug that has brought hope. Yes, for instance, now, if I had said, okay, my figure is deformed and whatever, and abandoned my treatment, maybe I could not be alive today. But it has added more life to me. It brought in new hope, you know. So at the end of the day, we want treatment, and we have to have treatment, treatment, and treatment.
I would still want to take you back to the era when you were then pregnant. I know, I personally know that you delivered a healthy baby who's HIV negative, who's excelling at school. But could you share with Zimbabwe, you know, that journey that you walked until you took her for HIV testing, how it was for you as a mother, and the support that you got from your other kids, your family?
Yes, dealing with pregnancy and HIV was also another experience that I had. Because again, despite the counseling that I had received, I also imagined what my baby was going to look like, you know, because I had the HIV. Despite that, I was taking all the steps, you know, of prevention during the time, 6 weeks before delivery. And also during that time, I'm one of those people who actually delivered by cesarean section, which is a very expensive process for an ordinary woman. Today, things have changed, you know. But I stayed healthy to start with. Good nutrition, good peace of mind. I made friends so that I would stop the crying, you know, and that kept me healthy to know that I looked forward. I would talk to myself. I would stand up in the mirror with my pregnancy and talk to my baby to say, whatever my condition, I know you are going to be a normal baby like anyone else. And I know when the baby was born, you were the first person who came to the hospital. I still have that photo. She was healthy.
Yes.
And with time, I also took her for testing, I think on 2 occasions, and she didn't have HIV. And I would like to really compliment our government for those steps that they took to ensure that HIV positive mothers can give birth to HIV negative children. You know, that program has been a success. And these are the success stories that we are also celebrating today. Our children are now teenagers.
Yes.
They are going to school. And my child is a beauty queen. She joins beauty pageants. She wins. She has those unique features she also took from the mother. You know, and it has nothing to do with HIV. I'm actually teaching her about HIV. She's in the HIV club at her school. She does the sports. She swims. So if that could happen to me, it can also happen to many more women. And I'm glad to say during those times as well, when I went out to say that I had successfully undergone the prevention of mother-to-child transmission, a lot of women visited testing centers and antenatal clinics to get tested for HIV. A lot of pregnant women, you know, and they were also enrolled on the program. It's a free program. You don't pay any money. And at the end of the day, as a mother, it is my responsibility when I'm HIV positive to ensure that I also protect the health of my child, Tarera.
Well, we'll continue with our discussion. Hearing from Tendai, anti-AIDS by 2030 is indeed a reality. Join us. Back, we continue with our program where today we are celebrating women, particularly women who are living with HIV, who are saying in everything that we do, we are beating AIDS. Tendai, before we went for the break, you were talking about your viral load now being undetectable. Could you explain to us, not in medical terms,
yes,
you as an individual who's not a medical person, but who's saying, Moropa mangu virus, how did that happen? How did you walk that road? Walk with us.
Yes. These are the miracle drugs, the antiretroviral drugs that treat HIV, that our government and all the NGOs, all the AIDS service providers are actually, you know, encouraging people to get tested. When I say my viral load is undetectable, I'm not going to talk like Dr. Angela Mshali. I hope you are listening. Dr. Parenyatwa, Dr. Mgurungi, Dr. Magure. But I'm going to talk as a person who has an undetectable viral load and how I arrived to that. All what it means is that when I'm put on treatment and I take my treatment diligently, when I say diligently, I mean when I undergo the treatment preparedness with my counselor at a health center. It's about taking my treatment on time, every day, in the proper quantities, as prescribed, without missing a single dose for all the 28 or 30 days in a month. It's also about me taking all the necessary steps that I do not get reinfection with HIV. Yes, I'm an adult, I indulge, but I also take precaution of dual protection to ensure that I never get reinfection or get myself exposed to HIV, and also protecting my partner. It's also about positive health, dignity and prevention, whereby I'm saying I have to have a positive attitude to life. You know, the food that I eat, keeping to a balanced diet, eating food that promotes my well-being. So all that complements the way my treatment operates. Even when I take treatment alone, if I take it diligently, my viral load should end up being undetectable. And those in the medical personnel field say that the viral load becomes detectable as little as only 6 months. So that should be a motivation. I've been on treatment, I don't know, for about 15 years. And my viral load, it continues to be undetectable. I go to my health care center 4 times in a year, and every year they do a viral load test. it's still undetectable. And I'm getting comprehensive care, which I'm saying that we also want that comprehensive care to go to communities, whereby besides just dealing with my HIV condition, it's also about looking at my sexual and reproductive issues like a woman, issues of cervical cancer, issues of breast cancer, etc, etc. So when I go to the clinic, they check all those things, issues of sugar, issues of glucose, I mean high
we're
blood
actually
pressure.
running out of time, Tendai. One thing that I want to ask you, as a woman, yes, you've got your own needs, and one person would want to know, so do you indulge like anybody else, sexual encounters? Do you lead a normal life like any other person? What precautions do you take on a regular basis? And considering that your viral load is actually undetectable, where now there's this false sense of security amongst people where they say, if my viral load is undetectable, then I can have unprotected sex because I'm not going to infect the next person.
Yes, I mean, I'm also an HIV positive woman. I still have my sexual and reproductive health rights like anyone else. And I beat the stigma too. So if I want to indulge, I indulge. But as an empowered woman who knows the dangers of reinfection, like what I explained, and we should also not be complacent simply because your viral load is undetectable. You go about having unprotected sex. The chances of also getting infection or infecting someone are also there, though they could be slim. And there are also other STIs to think of also. So it's also important that we continue to use the prevention strategies that have worked, like condoms, both male and female, and we are also advocating for those female-controlled interventions as well. So yes, I do. I'm still normal. Here I am, and things like that. Every adult does it, but it depends with who. But I'm not careless with my lifestyle. No, I try to lead a very organized lifestyle when it comes to issues like that. Yes.
Your kids. Issues of stigma, how have they embraced you as an HIV positive mother?
My kids are very supportive. They've traveled the journey with me, and they understand. They are my treatment buddies. They are not even ashamed. I even have a son-in-law who is also supportive. I even talk to them jokingly about HIV. When we are sitting together, we discuss the issues. And I even tell them when I've been to the health center to say, Nasinda Baku clinic, the test for viral load yangu ichira undetectable. But oh, Mama, sure, and that yes. So I told them that as young people, you should also be wary of your health, you know. Yeah.
Your last message to Zimbabweans as we celebrate Women's Month, International Women's Day, women living with HIV, celebrating them. Yes, today we are celebrating you, but you are representing every other HIV positive woman in Zimbabwe and globally. Your last few words.
Yes, my last few words is that women living with HIV are just women with rights like anyone else. Love positive women like Tendai and the many out there who may not be high profile like me. Women living with HIV can also date, they can get married. Women living with HIV are not vectors of HIV, but they can get meaningfully involved to prevent new infections, especially in community interventions to end HIV and AIDS, and also to promote the uptake, to accelerate the uptake of the prevention of mother-to-child transmission. And they can also be advocates for voluntary medical male circumcision, because if we have many men getting circumcised and they also use dural protection, it also reduces the infection to women. Therefore, love positive women. This month of celebrating women, we are together to end HIV and AIDS in Zimbabwe by 2030. It's now test and treat. So it's important for each and everyone at individual level, at family level, at community level, to take up the challenge to beat HIV and AIDS. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tendai. Well, that was Tendai Westerhoff sharing with us her journey. 22 years, almost, eh?
Now 16.
16 years, yes. 2002, she got to know about her HIV status. 16 years living healthy with HIV. Now her viral load undetectable. She's leading a healthy lifestyle. And hearing her story, I'm sure we can all tell that ending AIDS is indeed a reality. Tendai, we celebrate you today. We celebrate you in the month of March. We celebrate you 365 days of the year. Thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Thank you. I'm highly honored.